Hi, everyone. It's Michelle and HD Tutor. Welcome to the Sunday Live. Can you all hear us? It always takes a couple of minutes here.
That's okay.
Hi, everyone. Can you all hear us? Hi, Allison. Okay, there we go. I think we're live. Hi,
Good.
everybody. Hi, Frigg. Hi, Allison. Hi, Carol. Hi, Trish. Just give people a couple of minutes to walk in here. We are joined with the lovely and amazing HD Tutor. Lovely. Thank you for coming on my channel, HD. So happy to have you here today.
Not at all, Michelle. Thank you very much for asking me. Pleasure to be here talking to you.
Yes, we've had a lot of fun in the past. And so I asked HD Tutor to come here and be in the hot seat. So I know you do have quite a few people here who know who you are. You have a lot of fans. But for the people who don't know who you are, if you could just briefly introduce yourself and describe who you are.
Certainly. For those of you who are not familiar with who I am, I'm a narcissistic psychopath, amongst other things. But the reason that I exist on social media through YouTube and a blog and Facebook, etc., is in my capacity as a narcissistic psychopath to explain to people the reality of narcissism and psychopathy. So I've been doing this for 10 years now, writing about it, talking about it. I've written 50 books on the subject. I've created hundreds of products in relation to it. I've consulted with thousands of people. I have a YouTube channel that's been viewed some 135 million times, a blog that's been viewed 30 million times. And so I explain to people how my kind behave and think and why we target the people that we do. And perhaps most importantly of all, how you can deal with people like ourselves should you come across us in your personal lives.
That's amazing. So how did you get into this? Like when you were growing up as a child, you knew that you were different than other people around you, but you didn't know quite why or what you were. Did your family suspect that there was something different about you as a child?
They recognized that there was a difference. As you've identified, I recognized that I was different from my siblings, for example. As I've explained previously, my brother and sister used to call me the little alien because the way that I responded was different to the way that they did. And I appeared to have a difficulty, at least at first, of understanding why people behaved as they did, particularly when it came to emotions, etc. And with regard to my parents, they saw that I was a very capable and clever young boy, but also that I did respond differently to certain things. And my parents were completely different people. So they similarly responded to the differences that I exhibited in different ways themselves. And as I grew older, there were more behaviors that I exhibited that they regarded as problematic, or in some instances that might be harnessed for, with regard to my mother's perspective, her better use. And as I got older, I understood and recognized that I was superior to other people, that I processed things differently, that I didn't experience the range of emotions that other people did. I knew that I got off on manipulating people. I knew that I felt differently. And it was post university that a former girlfriend of mine, pointed out that she thought that I was both narcissist and psychopath. I explained why she believed that. I listened, always interested to hear what people have got to say about me. And given that she was an educated person, I had a degree of time for what she had to say. As a consequence of that, some labels were provided for my behaviors, and I went away and read more and thought, yes, that all makes sense to me. Didn't change what I was or am, didn't cause me to think about myself any differently, other than, right, good, I've got some labels for what I am now. That's all very interesting.
So how did you go from finding out, okay, I am a narcissist and a psychopath, to deciding I'm going to create a legacy and I'm going to help people? Because that's kind of a huge leap from someone who likes to manipulate people. You like being a narcissist, you know you're a psychopath. So when did you decide, okay, I think I'm going to create this legacy of work? Because that's a lot of work that you've done.
Yes. I've had an interesting career, and one of the things that I do like to do because I find it stimulating is to write. And I wanted to write, and I thought that I would write about myself. And then I thought to myself, actually, I wonder what the world thinks about my kind in terms of, do they really understand? So I had a little look around some of the material that was available, and I thought to myself, no, they don't really understand, do they? There's huge gaps in the information, much of it incorrect. There were some people that knew what they were talking about to a degree, but I found a lot of that actually offensive, not in the sense of becoming particularly upset by it, but more with regard to the issue of control, that people were getting it wrong and missing things out. So, as part of my inherent need for control, which comes from both my narcissism and psychopathy, I wanted to set the record straight. So I decided that I would start writing about it, primarily narcissism, because there are more narcissists than there are psychopaths. So I started to write about it and created my blog, and then I started writing books about the subject, which people could purchase, and then I created a YouTube channel. And as time has gone on, I offered consultations. And the primary purpose of this is linked to, of course, what I am. So, for example, because I need the issue of control, this affected my work in two ways. As I first explained, misinformation and a lack of information about the topic offended my need for control. So it was plugging those gaps and correcting it. But also the fact that at some point, like everybody else, I'm going to die. Now, I don't fear death because I don't experience fear. However, it is a threat to my need for control. And I therefore decided that if I was going to create a legacy, a huge body of work, which people have accessed and shared, and then they utilize my lexicon, which is what has happened, then when death appears with his adamantine scythe and says, "Okay, Tudor, now it's your turn," I'll be able to smile and say, "Do your worst," because I will know that my work will live on after I've shuffled off this mortal coil. So I haven't done this because I want to help people. It's like
Mm-hmm.
anything that a narcissistic psychopath would do. It's self-serving, but it happens to help people, many
Right.
million people, which of course is advantageous for them. So it's a win-win, but ultimately it's done for my own needs.
Okay. So you've been doing this for what, 20 plus years? Because it seems like the work has been very, very extensive. Or did you start this 10 years ago with your blog? Or was it much longer, the research? Because there's a lot of information. It's very, very extensive. And here I have, what they normally would put out about narcissism. They say the 5 types, but
Yeah,
your system is much more extensive. And to be
yeah.
honest, I prefer yours. I always go and correct people. No, she's not this, she's this. You have a very extensive categorization of narcissists. You have something called schools, you have something called cadres, and I know it's very, very extensive, but if you could briefly let me know, how did you come up with all of these different categories?
Well, you're quite right, and thank you for the appreciation of my system. That I understood that there were various descriptions of narcissists, and as you've identified there, overt, covert, etc. I found them too wide and decided that it would be better to have a system which accorded more with what people were experiencing rather than necessarily these concepts. So I thought about how should I categorize it. I thought, right, well, what I'll do is, first of all, I'll divide them up into main schools. So there was the lesser, the mid-range, and the greater. Lesser and mid-range are unaware narcissists, greater are aware. And then there's the ultra, which is me in a classification of my own because of the level of understanding and insight I have into myself and the fact that I share that information. So that puts me in a class of 1. So with those other schools, I then subdivided them to take into account the differences and similarities. So, for instance, when people talk about overt narcissism, that covers several different schools who have similarities but also considerable differences. And therefore, just to call them overt wouldn't help you truly understand the nature of those behaviors. And
Mm-hmm.
Accordingly, let's take a narcissist such as Donald Trump and compare with Ryan Reynolds. Now, under the classification you have on the screen, they would both be described as overt narcissists, but they're actually very different narcissists. Trump is far more in your face. He doesn't operate with a facade. What you see is what you'll get. He's more aggressive. All of those behaviors are overt, but compared to Reynolds, Reynolds operates with a facade. Reynolds has a greater degree of instinctive planning to situations, whereas Trump responds far more instinctively. He shoots from the lip. And therefore, whilst you could both describe them as overt, one can demonstrate that there are considerable differences, and hence my classification, Trump as what is called upper lesser type B, and Ryan Reynolds as upper mid-range, is much more accurate. And then by understanding those categorizations, what that then enables you to do is understand far more about the type of narcissist that you're dealing with to a greater degree. And I've created a body of work that goes into greater detail about what all of those subschools are. And then you have the cadres, which are somatic, cerebral, elite, and victim. Those are all linked to the preferences of the narcissist. So, for instance, you'll have an upper lesser type B somatic, or a upper mid-range cerebral, or a middle range type A victim, and so on and so forth. And I spent considerable time looking at the different narcissists that I had experienced, because they're in my family. I've worked with them, I've manipulated them, I've lived next door to narcissists and dealt with them very much in all of the different spheres of my life, and seen all of the different categorizations, and therefore look to cover all of that with the lexicon and the classification system that I've adopted.
Interesting. Now, also on top of the schools and cadres of narcissism, you have a very extensive tool called a fuel matrix.
Yes.
So that's very fascinating as well, because I don't think there's really anyone else out there who has covered in extensive the way that you have with the fuel, the need for fuel, and you have a very elaborate fuel matrix. Can you kind of break down, how did you come up with this fuel matrix? How did you know, okay, I like to use people as objects, I like to manipulate people, we know that we don't have emotional attachments, but how did you discover or create this fuel matrix? Because it's very fascinating to the outside world that people are put into categories.
Okay. When it comes to the narcissist pursues something called the prime aims: control, fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. Everything, and I repeat, everything that a narcissist does when they're dealing with another human being or contemplating dealing with another human being is driven by those prime aims and nothing else. That is the driver. To understand a narcissist, you need to understand and accept that's what drives their behavior. Narcissist doesn't like you. The narcissist portrays liking you to get to the prime aims. Now, one of those prime aims is, as you've touched on, fuel. Now, I came up with the concept of fuel because I recognized that the emotional response of an individual to an act or a mission that I engage in edified me. I knew that it made me feel more important, special, powerful. And so I then explained how fuel, as the name suggests, funnily enough, fuels the narcissist. That's what drives the narcissist in terms of their behavior. So there is within the narcissist, there is this chasm, this emptiness. And if the fuel level drops too low, the narcissist senses this emptiness. And for an unaware narcissist, it's a sense of anxiety. It's uncomfortable. It's not pleasant. If it drops lower, it's a sense of impending doom. And so the narcissism's job is to drive the narcissist to go and gather fuel. So if you say, I love you to a narcissist, you've just given some fuel. If you say, I hate you, you're an absolute douche canoe, and you dress like a 70s porn star, you've given fuel to the narcissist. If you punch the narcissist, you've given the narcissist fuel. If you make a narcissist a cup of tea or give them a birthday present, you've given them fuel. So any form of reaction, crying, winking at them, looking disappointed, sighing, hugging, having sex with, all of those things are fuel. Now, with the fuel matrix, every narcissist has a fuel matrix, which comprises of the people that they have and continue to interact with. So there are different classifications which are set out in my book, Fuel, but very briefly, you have tertiary sources. So those are strangers and acquaintances. Secondary sources, friends, family, neighbors, colleagues, and then a primary source. The primary source is usually an intimate partner, but sometimes it might not be. It could be non-intimate in terms of a family member or a friend. And the people in the fuel matrix are there because they provide the narcissist with fuel and character traits and residual benefits. And each narcissist has one. Some narcissists have much larger fuel matrices than others. So somebody who's hugely famous and known around the world, has lots of fans, lots of supporters, could have millions of tertiary sources and then hundreds of secondary sources. A less effective or well-known narcissist could have 10 tertiary sources, 3 secondary sources, and a primary source. And what happens is the narcissist will interact with the members of the fuel matrix off and on. They may only interact with them once and then never again. So, for example, I go to a restaurant and there's a waitress and she interacts with me. She's giving me fuel. She's in my fuel matrix. From the moment that she engaged with me, she became a member of my fuel matrix. Now, I may never, ever see that woman ever again, but she still remains a part of my fuel matrix. I have a girlfriend. She becomes the intimate partner primary source, and I interact with her repeatedly. And then I might end the relationship, but then I might still interact with her, even though the relationship is over. Because from the narcissist perspective, we have an inalienable right to return to our appliances as and when we choose. That's why it's never, ever truly over with the narcissist. Because once you're in that fuel matrix, we reserve the right, invariably subconsciously with an unaware narcissist, to come back and use you. Because we don't really regard people as people. You're appliances. You're there to be used by us. You're there to serve our needs and our purposes.
Interesting. So after you got the diagnosis, no, I do remember you told the story when you were a child that your parents, they made you go to therapy, they made you go to doctors because they were concerned about your behavior. But the doctors, they never diagnosed you as a child that you could have been a narcissist or a psychopath?
No, I didn't interface with medical professionals as a child. That occurred when I was an adult, which was as a consequence of concerns about certain things that I'd done. It was based upon lies perpetrated by various members of my family who were narcissists themselves, that were threatened by the things that I was doing. But in order to nullify the threat to control that they posed, along with avoiding further interference into the things that I do, in essence, I wanted people's noses kept out. And because I was interested in myself, why not? So I'm a fascinating individual. I decided that I would engage. And I received a diagnosis, which didn't come as any surprise to me. And at the end of the day, they're labels. Labels are helpful because they help people understand. But that came from the interaction. Now, what they expected to do, excuse me, was keep me in these interactions forever as part of trying to control me. And all you do with someone like me is, when you involve me in psychotherapy, is you make me more dangerous, because you allow me to understand all the more about myself. Because I'm not in denial as to what I am. I embrace it. I take hold of what I am and I utilize it. That's what I am. I'm not ashamed of it or embarrassed of it, and I've no desire to change. An unaware narcissist would deal with it differently, but not me, because I know what I am. And to me, it's just another form of game playing, and I found it stimulating because I get bored easily. So I was quite content to go along with it, because it was a journey of understanding more about myself.
So we forgot to mention earlier that HD Tudor is a greater narcissist, the ultra, because he is a very self-aware narcissist psychopath, and most narcissists are not aware. So he has a higher level of understanding and intelligence in regards to who he is, why he does the things that he does, so he can become very, very effective. So you went to the doctors after your girlfriend in college had already diagnosed you, correct? So you kind of already knew who you were before the doctors told you?
Yes, I mean, she didn't provide a formal diagnosis. She was a psychology graduate, and she expressed an opinion as to what I was, which
Hmm.
set me on the path, as I mentioned, for receiving these labels and understanding more about what I was. And the formal diagnosis came later as a consequence of my interaction with psychologists.
So after you were diagnosed
Yeah.
through your girlfriend and the doctors, did you tell your family or your friends? Does anyone know what you are?
No,
You
I
didn't want
don't.
to tell
I
anyone,
don't
hey,
go
I'm
into a
a
bar.
narcissist.
I don't go into a bar and say, "Hello, my name's John Smith." That isn't my name, by the way. But I don't go into a bar and go, "Hello, my name's John Smith. I'm a narcissistic psychopath. What would you like to drink?" Because naturally, that would transfer control to people,
Well,
and
I
I
have a
need
question for
control.
you then. So if a narcissist and an empath walk into a bar, does the
Mhm.
narcissist buy the empath a beer? Asking for a friend.
Well, it depends. They may well do so as a means of asserting control over that
Right.
empathic individual, or because of their sense of entitlement, that they may decide that they should be bought the beer. So it very much depends on circumstances.
So none of your like childhood friends, like, did they suspect growing up with
No.
you for 20 years? They didn't suspect, okay, there's something odd about HG.
Oh, well, they recognized again, as I mentioned, that I was different. So certain of them, they certainly knew not to cross me. And as
Mm.
I've explained in my work, that some of them have been on the receiving end of my malice, and
Oh,
therefore they know that I can be a particularly unpleasant person if you get on the wrong side of me. And there are those that really don't like me. There are others who adore me because I'm fun and interesting, charismatic, and
and
uh,
charming, good looking, of course.
keep it coming. Absolutely, all of those things. And therefore, there are those that recognize that wayward, and I have had people say to me, "Oh, you're a psycho," which just makes me laugh. But they don't truly know and understand, and I certainly wouldn't go around telling them. And that's why I operate under the pseudonym of H.G. Tudor, so that I can tell everybody about
Mhm.
the way that I am and my kind are without any loss of control in my private life.
So you were born a psychopath.
Yeah.
And I remember I was listening to a podcast that you did. I think it was called the No Limits podcast. You did, I think, back in 2017, where you talked about you were raised by a narcissist. Your mother is a narcissist. And as a child, you did suffer abuse. So
Yeah.
you were born a psychopath, but you became a narcissist. And that was a conscious decision to become like your mother. Is that right?
Not quite. My
Okay.
narcissism developed as a self-defense mechanism
Ah.
to some of the issues that I was facing. And as part of that, I saw the way, because my mother is a narcissist, I
Hmm.
saw the way that she behaved, and I saw the way that people were frightened of her and respected her and responded to her. And therefore, I thought to myself, I want more of that. So there were certain, I'm different to her because I'm aware and she isn't. But I saw the way that she would behave and thought, wow, that's power. And remember, this was when I was a child. So
Right.
you're relatively powerless when you're a child. So
Mhm.
when I saw this behavior and also that of my uncle, which is my mother's brother, who he also is a narcissist, he's the chap that I call Willy Wonka. He and her, the way that they behaved, I thought, I want to wield that power. I want people to fear and respect me in the way that they do with them. So I would watch the way that they would manipulate people, and I would emulate it and refine it and improve upon it.
Okay. So you are a hybrid. You're not a full narcissist. You're a psychopath and a narcissist. Is there one that you feel you identify more with than the other?
I'm more psychopath than narcissist. So I, in terms of categorization, most individuals that I talk about are narcissists. Then you have pure psychopaths, and I'm the hybrid. I lean more towards being a psychopath than I am a narcissist, but I meet the criteria for narcissistic personality disorder, and I understand my own narcissism and that of the full-blown narcissists. And that's why I talk about it as extensively as I do. And as I mentioned earlier, there are more
Um,
narcissists than psychopaths, and people are more likely to be affected by narcissists because people get in the way of the psychopath, but the psychopath can go about certain things with not necessarily interacting with people as much as they do. Narcissists need people because narcissists need fuel and they need the character traits. So narcissists need to interact with people far more than psychopaths do.
Okay. So you like your psychopath more than your narcissist side, but you like the fact because you're very social. And I know, like with a lot of psychopaths, they tend to be loners. They don't tend to identify with people like someone like Brian Koberger, who you
Mm.
recently did a really good video on. He's a psychopath with
Yeah,
narcissistic tendencies, if I'm correct. If
that's
that's how
right.
you,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Um,
whereas I have a greater level of narcissism than he has,
mhm.
Koberger he's a psychopath with some narcissistic traits. So he enjoys a degree of attention, but he doesn't need it in the way that a narcissist does.
Okay. So you do a lot of great work in helping empaths to escape the narcissist, kind of weaponizing empaths. But
Hmm.
isn't that a little contradictory, the fact that you're helping and hunting the same prey? Is it kind of like the angel and the devil on one side? Because you tend to go after empaths, correct? That those are your primary source for girlfriends. Those are the people you like to normally manipulate. But at the same time, you're weaponizing the same people that you hunt. So how does that work exactly? How do you do that?
Quite simple. I hunt those individuals because that satisfies my needs, and then those that come to me seeking advice from me aren't the ones that I'm going to be hunting, because I don't know we don't know one another. We're strangers on the internet. So I go after the ones that I interact with in real life. And then that doesn't remember, I have no moral compass. I have no conscience. I have
Right.
no remorse. There's no sense of guilt. So I
Right.
don't see that there's any contradiction in what I'm doing. Indeed, I see both as entirely sensible. I know the way that empaths tick. So that's why they become a primary target for one such as I, although other types of people are also individuals that I'll play with and toy with, etc., because they can be of use to me. And those empathic individuals, and there are some people who aren't empaths that come and seek help from me, because it's not just empaths that get entangled with narcissists. That again assists me because, as I mentioned at the outset, Michelle, I do this to serve my own purposes. So, as a narcissist, I need to control people. So, if somebody comes wanting my help, they show that they're under control. That box is ticked. They're providing me with fuel. I don't do it for the fuel because I get plenty of that in my private life, but I'm not
Mhm.
going to turn it down. I may, I invariably may find something interesting about the people that I assist, which I can then utilize as a topic to talk about in a video. Naturally, I always respect the confidentiality, but somebody's circumstances, anonymized, could provide me with useful information and an idea for the creation of more work. So that's character trait acquisition. And people pay me because I'm an expert and I've helped many, many people save lives, save livelihoods. The testimonials will bear that out. So doing all of that ticks all the boxes for me in terms of my narcissism. With regard to my psychopathy, I have the necessary triad. So again, I need control. I get bored easily, so I need stimulation. So people coming along and saying, I'm in this situation, can you help me? Provides me with stimulation. And I accumulate. And so I accumulate all of these people that I've helped, the millions of people that have read my books and watched my videos and read my blog entries. So
Right.
again, accord what I need, and that's similar in terms of what happens in my private life. The individuals that I target satisfy the prime aims and the necessary triad. The individuals that I interact with, in terms of what I call blog world, the consulting and all the videos, that accords with the pursuit of the prime aims and the necessary triad. Those two worlds, although I keep them separate, I cannot switch off what I am. I am not a part-time psychopath. I am not a part-time narcissist. My interaction with you now is
Mhm.
governed by the pursuit of the prime aims and the necessary triad.
Right.
When you and I exchange emails, it is governed by the pursuit of those things. I don't switch off and just turn into, oh, Mr. HG, the nice guy, when you're chatting with him in emails. I am the narcissistic psychopath every single time you deal with me.
Right. So I have a question for you. So on the No Limits podcast that you did, you mentioned that you are continually going through therapy, and
Mm.
through the years you started to slow your thinking.
Yeah.
So does that technically mean that are you evolving? Are you finding the need to lash out less because you do have so much fuel, you get so much from your legacy, you work with empaths, and so you probably have more of an understanding of the impact, even though it doesn't affect you emotionally. What would I say? Intellectually, you know what manipulation and pain does to people because you constantly are consulting with empaths. So, due to your extensive knowledge, your research, your experience, you're helping empaths and working with what you call the good doctors, are you finding that you're still continuing to slow your thinking in a way to where you lash out less?
Or what you're referring to is what often people talk about operating in a more pro-social way.
Yes.
And unlike many others of my kind that are less evolved and are more rudimentary, I'm able to get what I want, not necessarily by going and punching somebody in the face, but if I need to do that, I would, but through the utilization of charm and humor and intellect. And so there are certain instances, perhaps, where I might go to a more malign response. And the work was done to think, could you substitute that with a benign response? So it's a little bit like being offered an array of different weapons in front of me. And rather than pick up the missile launcher, I pick up a pistol instead. So it's about creating a response that allows the choice of an alternative weapon, and that weapon might actually turn out to be something that's benign. When I say benign, I mean it's benign to the recipient, but it's still self-serving in relation to what I do. It doesn't make me a nice person because I'm not one. What it
Right.
means is I might behave towards you in a pleasant way, whereas in other instances, I might have been more prone to be unpleasant in some shape or form towards you. So
Right.
it's not about slowing my brain down so that I, become lobotomized. It's about lessening the likelihood of me reaching for the nuclear reaction and instead going for a less response, which may prove to be benign to the individual.
Okay. So you have this great legacy where you're weaponizing the empaths, you're giving people tools that you can see here, handle the narcissist, zero impact, divorcing the narcissist. He has a huge body of work on his website, which we'll share in a moment. But what I noticed, HG, is you don't tend to help the narcissist. So my question to you is, I know that a lot of people say you can't cure narcissism, but you're the ultra, so if anyone could do it, don't you think you could possibly be the person to help science, to come up with something to help maybe a very aware narcissist to, like you did, slow his thinking? Is there anything that you think you could add to your legacy that would help with ending narcissism?
I don't see that narcissism should be ended. I
Oh,
see that it serves a purpose. First of all, let us not lose sight of the fact that it can't be cured. It can't be healed. It is a hermetically sealed self-defense mechanism that will resist any attempt. Even if you could cure it, the individual would resist because the narcissism would recognize the threat that's posed by the attempt to cure and cause the narcissist to retreat from it. So not only is there no cure available, but even if you had one, the narcissist wouldn't embrace it because the narcissism would prevent that from happening. So it's a little
right,
bit like, imagine there's purple spot disease, and when somebody's got purple spot disease, you, the doctor, come with the inoculation for it and the cure for it, and purple spot disease causes that patient to run away from you because it says, "Oh, that's the cure. I don't want it," and it makes its host retreat from it. So it can't be cured. You might think, well, surely there'd be an attraction to someone such as myself to go, well, I'm going to be able to do so. I understand such a mindset, but I'm also a dealer in logic. And the logic is it can't be cured. So why would I waste my time trying to do something that can't be attained in that regard? Furthermore, I see that narcissist serves a purpose. You're right. I don't assist narcissists, but that doesn't mean that I don't recognize that it serves a purpose. In the first instance, it is a self-defense mechanism for many millions of people who haven't had the self-defense mechanisms that other people have evolved. And therefore, it's what helps them get through life. Yes, there's a considerable cost to other people, but that's their problem. The narcissism is there to protect the narcissist. It's also the case that narcissism drives certain narcissists, not all, but certain narcissists, to create amazing things that many people enjoy, from fantastic pop songs, plays, technological advances, sporting achievement, that if they were not a narcissist, they'd be less likely to do. So with those situations, you actually benefit from the presence of the narcissist, because that narcissist writes brilliant songs and puts on a fantastic performance. You don't get the downside of that, because you download the music and you buy your ticket to go and watch the concert. You don't meet them. So the downside, the negatives, the devaluing behaviors of that narcissist never affect you. You just get the upside. Particular technological advice that many people use by way of their phones and their PCs, created by a narcissist. You didn't ever have to meet that narcissist. You never had to suffer the devaluation. His family and his daughter will tell you different about him, but you get the upside of it. Would he have been minded and as driven to have created these universal devices that many of us use and are very much part of our everyday fabric were he not a narcissist? Probably not. So if one were, and you can't, but if one were able to cure narcissism, you'd also be stripping a driver which has achieved excellence and brilliance in many fields. So I simply do not see a case for curing it, even if you could.
Right. So you've never wanted to try yourself to see if you could squash the, what do you call it, the monster inside, to see if you can fight those urges to do the things that you do. You
Not
never
at
wanted
all.
to run an experiment on yourself,
Not-
just to see if you could help the good doctors and narcissism.
No, I am entirely effective as what I am, Michelle. I
Yeah.
embrace it. I like what I am because
Yeah.
that's what I am. I don't worry about things. I don't lie awake at night concerned at the plight of this or that or the other. I'm always moving forward, achieving.
Mhm.
And I know that I do things that some people would regard as awful. I also do things that many people regard as fantastic and helpful. But
Right.
I am what I am, and I am not going to change that. And in the same way, I say to empathic people, often they'll contact me and they say, HG, I wish I was more like you. And I said, well, I can understand that because there are many advantages associated with what I am. And I said, but you can't change who you are, and why should you? That's who you are. What you have to do is to learn to understand what you are, and understand that as an empath, the only problem is when you're dealing with narcissists. Therefore, learn to identify them, learn to stay away from them, utilize my work. And then your empathic traits provide aspects of society that need that. In the same way that narcissism provides things, empaths do also. So there is a necessity of saying, why change what you are? You can't. Embrace it and understand how you can use it.
Okay, fair enough. So you mainly date empaths, correct? Those are your primary choice when you're dating someone for your intimate partner primary source. Have you
For
ever
the
dated?
intimate partner primary source, that's right. So I've had intimate relationships with narcissists,
Mhm.
but I don't take them as the intimate partner primary source. So they'd be intimate partner secondary sources. So a bit of entertainment on the side, if I can describe it as such.
Okay, okay. So let's go into that. We're going to dive into that. So you mainly date, or you only date empaths, right? That's your preferred choice. But you've had relationships, shall we say, on the side with narcissists, empaths. Have you ever had a psychopath as a partner?
As a partner, no.
No, as a secondary source partner.
No.
No. Okay. Now, do you ever meet psychopaths out in the wild? Are they harder to detect than a narcissist?
I regularly run up against, rub along with psychopaths. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I thought they would be a little bit more rare. So you're able to look at someone and you
Oh,
can
they are.
easily to
They're
detect.
very rare. It's just the certain circles that I operate in. There are a greater number of them. I can't say any more than that, otherwise I'll
Okay.
sort of give away who I am.
Right. Right. No, that's totally fine. So when you're dealing with your primary source, your intimate partner, you always go with an empath, but you've had other relationships with narcs and it's just fine because they're not someone you're going to take into an actual relationship.
That's right. So I categorize people as a baseline categorization as empaths, normals, narcissistic but not narcissists, and narcissists. We'll put psychopathy to one side for the moment because it's much rarer. And so I've had partners, sexual partners, who are normals, who are empaths, who are narcissistic and also narcissists. So I've taken them from all four categorizations. Why? Because I can control all four, and all four provide me with fuel, and all four provide me with character traits and residual benefits. But when it comes to an intimate partner primary source, with the issue of control and longevity, the empath is preferred because they are easier to ensnare and they stay ensnared for longer.
Okay, so out of all of those ladies, those different categories that you had as lovers, who were the better lovers? The empaths, the narcs, or the normals?
Well, I'm going to sound like Jordan Peterson now and say define better.
Okay, when you were playing naked chess, discussing Ugandan affairs, and you were having sex with a lady, generally speaking, out of your vast experience of empaths, of normals, and narcissists, who did you find to be the most sexually exciting? The one that made your eyes curl back and your toes curl? I mean, who were the better lovers overall, in your general opinion?
For the needs that I have, that has
Okay.
to be set against, of course, the prime aims and the necessary triad. So I'm looking for somebody that is to be controlled, that will provide me with fuel, that will provide me potentially with character traits, residual benefits. Great sex is a residual benefit,
Okay.
but someone that stimulates me as well because of the aspect of my psychopathy. So, for example, somatic narcissists make great sexual partners because where they're an unaware narcissist, they are trying to seduce and control me. And so what they will invariably use is sex as a means to do so, which means they will put out regularly. They will put out perhaps in a more extreme way, as described about Meghan Markle. She lets you do anything because she's a somatic narcissist. So in terms of somebody that may well allow you to, shall we say, for want of a better description, put it any way you like, then the narcissist would attend to those things, and often are very enthusiastic because there's a performance. Now, I know they're a narcissist and I know that it's a performance. So whilst I'm receiving fuel from them, there is the knowledge, of course, that they're trying to manipulate me. With an empath, I know they're not trying to manipulate me. They can be just as forthcoming as a narcissist with regard to their enthusiasm. Doesn't mean just because they're an empath, that they're there wearing a nightie that covers their ankles and all the way up to their chin, and they can be particularly forthcoming with the fuel. They,
Right.
on balance, are more likely to be easier to control, and you know that it's genuine with them. So I think the best way of describing it is that if it were a horse race, the narcissist tends to get into the lead early on, but overall, it's the empath that ultimately makes for the sexual partner that caters to the necessary triad and the prime aims to the greater degree. Because once they get into their stride, you've brought them under control. It's a genuine performance that you're engaging with. And whilst you might think that the narcissist is particularly broad-minded, empaths with the right persuasion and encouragement can also, and there are some empaths who get their freak on when it comes to the arena of sex also.
Okay.
So
No
ultimately,
vanilla. No
we're
vanilla
talking
thinking.
broad brush strokes, of course, but in terms of that which caters to what I require, then it would ultimately be the empath that would succeed.
Okay. All right. So you obviously like control. Do you have to have control in the bedroom?
Yes,
Can a lady ever control you?
if I allow it.
If you
Yeah.
have you ever allowed it?
I've allowed certain instances where I've handed over the reins of control. I don't tend to do it very often because I'm particularly dominant in that respect. But
Okay.
there are instances where I see a purpose whereby I will, but I'm still in control because I'm the one that's decided to give you that control. It's
Right.
never taken from me, but
Mhm.
largely I'm the dominant force.
Awesome. Okay. So let's see here. So have you ever had a IPPS that had a profound impact on you and your life? One that stood out more than the others?
I think, as I've detailed previously, there have been some intimate partner primary sources which might be regarded as more memorable than others as a consequence of particular events that have surrounded them. I wouldn't necessarily say that there was one that's, one intimate partner primary source to rule them all or anything like that. I think there's been notable ones that are more notable than others throughout the list of individuals that I've taken as intimate partner primary sources. Yes,
Okay. And you were married one time,
that's
right?
right. Yeah.
So what was it about her that she got to the finish line, that she got HG to the altar, and then the other ones haven't? Because you've been engaged a couple of times.
That's right. What happened with that individual that I was married to was the fact that marriage enabled me to present a particular facade which was advantageous for what I was doing at the time. So it wasn't because she was ideal marriage material. It was simply that there was an individual whereby I determined that marrying her would serve a purpose with regard to controlling other people. It was also the case of because what she did, it would give me greater access to information that I wanted. And therefore, by marrying her, that would bring her under a greater degree of control, which would then make it easier for me to get to the information that I required. So it wasn't per se, oh, because I have no emotional empathy. It's not like, oh, I loved her more than anyone else. I don't love
Right.
anybody. But what it was that, like sex, like humor, like my intellect, like my ability to run fast, like my ability when I played football, and marriage, all of them are tools just to get to the things that I need. And in that particular relationship, I decided that the tool of marriage was applicable to get to aspects of the prime aims and the necessary triad. Hence, that's why I married her.
Do you see yourself getting married in the future?
I don't see any immediate plans for that, but if I deem that it's appropriate, why is this a proposal? Are you asking me?
Well, maybe. I'm available. My mom's listening. Hi, Mom. We got to be careful because she might be planning our wedding. So
Oh, right. Okay.
she's
She's already,
excited. I'm talking
already
to
ordering a hat,
her.
is she? Okay. I have no immediate plans to be married, but if I deem that if it's necessary, then I should do so.
Okay, you hear that, Mom? We're not getting married. Okay. Let's see here. I have a whole bunch of questions, but I feel like we should probably get to the comments here because I know people had some questions. But I had a couple of fun questions I thought that I would ask you
Certainly.
just for fun.
Fire away.
Okay, so what do you listen to when you're driving in the car? What does HD have on the radio?
Sometimes I will listen to my favorite band, which is Depeche Mode, as you know. Often I will listen to a radio play or an audiobook.
Oh, so no Nicki Minaj or anything like that,
Good
Beyonce?
Lord, no, no,
We know it's not Celine
none of
Dion.
that nonsense. So often I tend more to listen to music, for instance, when I'm exercising. But if I'm driving, sometimes silence is entirely adequate. And on other occasions, I'll be listening to a radio play or an audio book.
Okay. Now I know you're very healthy, you're very body conscious, but if you were to indulge in fast food, what is your favorite fast food and what is your order?
If I was to have any fast food, and you're talking about basically a takeaway.
Yeah,
Okay.
like America, like McDonald's or something, yeah.
Okay, I really don't like McDonald's, so I wouldn't choose that. I like Thai food, so if I was to have a takeaway, it would be Thai food. But if you're saying really going for sort of junk food, I am a little bit partial to a bacon double cheeseburger from Burger King.
Oh, I never would have thought that. Okay.
Mhm.
Do y'all have a Jack in a Box in the UK?
No.
Oh, gosh.
Are they
Well,
good?
kind of. They're a little bit more greasy, but their monster tacos are delicious.
Okay,
With
right.
hot sauce and onion rings. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I largely stay away from that type of food, but
I know.
occasionally, perhaps if one's feeling a little bit tired and emotional after a heavy session, then a bacon double cheeseburger is to call for. I think that's the extent of it, though, for me.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the people in the audience a couple of trivia questions to
Mhm.
see your knowledge about HD Tutor, and he's going to tell us the correct answer, and then we're going to get to some questions. But I have like a million more I wanted to ask him, but I know for time we'll have to do it another time. So you guys get ready to answer in the comments. You can just put the number there that you think. At what age did HD Tutor first get drunk? Was it was it 18? 21, 12, or 4? Go ahead and put your answer in the comments. What age was HD Tutor first drunk? 18, 21, 12, or 4? Okay, let's see what we have. We got some answers in here. We got 12, we have 4, we have 18. Okay, HD Tutor. What was the right answer?
I was age 4.
Age 4. And if you're not aware, over on his YouTube channel, he has a very interesting story about how he was first drunk at age 4. Okay. The next question, well, we already answered your favorite band. So
Mhm.
we'll go to the next one. What is HD Tutor's favorite TV show? The Rake, Succession, Dexter, or Downton Abbey? Come on, we know you like it. The Rake, Succession, Dexter, or Downton Abbey? Put it in the comments, his favorite TV show. Dexter, okay. Rake, Succession. Um, okay, HD, what was your favorite show?
Has anybody put Downton Abbey?
Let me see. um, I don't think so. Is that,
Okay.
is
Well, good. My favourite is Rake,
Yay.
The Australian version, not the
Yes.
US version. Richard
Oh, okay.
Roxburgh. Yeah,
Australian version.
Richard Roxburgh is absolutely fantastic as Rake, and if you get the opportunity to watch it, do. It's fantastic.
Okay. I'll have to see if I can get that one.
Yeah, he's a the character's a narcissist,
Oh,
and
really?
but an example of a charming and very clever narcissist, but also demonstrates particularly his haphazard professional and personal life. So it's well observed, and I understand based upon an Australian lawyer in part, and it's an absolutely fantastic. There's several series of Rake, and as I say, Roxburgh is an absolute tour de force in the role. Sensational.
Awesome. Okay, so what is HD Tutor's favorite food? We have Mexican, Thai, Chinese, or sushi. Mexican, Thai, Chinese, or sushi. We've already established it's not fast food. Someone says they love Downton Abbey. Okay. Oh,
Oh, well,
lots of people seem to have this answer. Oh, we can tell your tutor rights here, HG.
good.
Okay, so it looks like what's the answer, HG?
Well, I sort of alluded to it earlier on. It's Thai.
Thai food. Did you? I'm sorry, I
I
didn't
did
hear.
when you were asking me about fast food, and I said if it's a takeaway,
Oh,
I said I probably would choose a Thai. But if I was really going
oh,
for the sort of dirty junk food, then it would be
oh.
the
Uh,
bacon double cheeseburger. Yeah.
okay, well, there we go. All right. And then, okay, so this one I think I have the answers correct.
Okay.
What sport does HD Tutor do? Does he do running, cycling, skiing, or sailing? Running, cycling, skiing, or sailing? You can put that in the comment. Okay. We got one so far. Okay. We have running, we have cycling, sailing. Okay. Running, skiing, sailing, running, or cycling. Okay. HD, what is the correct answer?
Well, in essence, all of them are, because I've done all of those things. If I was to pick something that I do most of at the moment, it'd be cycling.
Right, because you ride bicycles or
Mhm.
bikes. Yeah. I know you don't ski though, right? Didn't you say you don't really
I
ski?
have done in the past, but it's not particularly something that finds a huge amount of favor with me.
Okay. All right. Okay. And the last question that I have before I turn over to the comment section, what is HD Tudor's celebrity crush? We have Uma Thurman, Sandra Bullock, Charlize Theron, or Salma Hayek. And I know you're probably going to say all of them, but we're just going to choose one. Uma
Brilliant.
Thurman, Sandra Bullock, Charlize Theron, or Salma Hayek. I think everyone's probably going to know who it is. Okay, we have Charlize, Uma. My friend put me. Alicia Marie is my bestie. She's like me.
There's
Sandra Bullock. She's cute. You think she's cute. Okay, HD, what is the answer?
It's Uma Thurman.
That's right, Uma Thurman. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, that was fun. So we do, if you have a couple more minutes, we have some comments here that I kind of want to
Plenty of
get
time to
through.
go. There's no rush, so
Okay.
I'm in your
Okay.
hands. Yep.
Oh, wow. Wait, HD's in my hands? Oh my.
Privileged
Oh.
position. Don't abuse
Okay.
it.
Am I in control? I'm just kidding.
Well, mildly, as I passed it over.
Okay.
Okay, is that the first question for me to address?
Yes, sir. Trish O'Connor says, can you please ask HG where he thinks Twerk and Jerk's narrative conclude?
Is Trish wanting to know, in effect, where do I think it'll all end up?
I
I'm
would think
assuming
so.
that's what she's driving at.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as I've explained in previous videos, because she's a narcissist, this essentially leaves us with three potential options. First is Harry escapes. I see that as fairly unlikely. The other is she disengages from him. And the other is neither of those things happened and have the roller coaster. And I think that the most likely still remains that because she is a narcissist, that her narcissism would look to disengage from Harry. And so he would come crawling back to the royal family. And I think he would be more likely to be admitted, given that it was just him and not her. And he would be put in a Prince Andrew role, whereby, you get a roof over your head and basically stay out of the way and don't be annoying and just count your lucky stars that we've let you back in. For that disengagement to happen, the fact is that with that, in order for her to disengage, either Harry would have to break down and no longer be functioning, that it might be necessary, alternatively, that Harry is too difficult to control or he exposes her, or the one that would ordinarily be most likely would be that she would find a better alternative to Harry. And I think that's essentially what her narcissism would want, that she's fed up of him and she wants somebody else. But the problem she's got is with advancing years, she is, of course, not going to be content with someone who, earns $100,000 a year. She wants someone who's substantially wealthy. And I think she's not really got the options in respect of that. And so disengagement would be potentially more difficult for her on the basis of her swapping to somebody new, because I do think that she's got limited options. I think what's more likely is that Harry's going to suffer some kind of breakdown, therefore essentially forces disengagement because he's of no use to her any longer. And therefore divorce occurs and she looks to get a big payout courtesy of King Charles III to buy her silence. She will certainly seek to blackmail them by saying, I will say that Harry abused me, I will say this, I will say that, and they'll just basically lump money towards her to shut her up, and then she'll disappear off and subject to how much interest the media want to pour in her direction, you may never hear from her again, and Harry would come back into the royal family. I think that's probably most likely what will happen. I don't see that they're going to turn anything around. I don't see that there's going to be some renaissance of their fortunes. They're on that downward spiral and they're circling the plug hole.
Yeah, I agree with you on that assessment. Theo Persall says, I am a narcissist that does not like marriage. Is that normal for a narcissist?
Is it normal for a narcissist not to like marriage? Well, they might state as such as part of a manipulation to draw a response. The attitude of a narcissist to marriage is quite simply, it is a tool that is there to be utilized. So it's not a case of necessarily liking it or not liking it. You have to remember that a narcissist, in the moment when they will say something, they are saying it in the moment for the purposes of the prime aims. And then in the very next moment, they can completely change their view. So a narcissist might start off by saying, I absolutely can't stand Taylor Swift, I hate her music, in order to provoke somebody. And then 5 minutes later, you say, oh, I'm a huge Swiftie. I've always loved Taylor Swift, in order to align with someone and mirror them, to control them. So similarly, in relation to marriage and saying, is it normal for a narcissist not to like marriage? A narcissist just regards marriage as a tool, neither liking it or disliking it. They will say what they say about it in a particular moment, dependent upon circumstances. That is the fluid and flexible nature of the narcissist. What's
Okay.
my favorite book?
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say I've got an absolute favorite. There are ones that I enjoy reading. Filth by Irvin Welsh, Kill Your Friends by John Niven, Complicity by Ian Banks, Wuthering Heights, Emily Bronte. Those are some of my favorites.
Oh, I love Wuthering Heights. There was a really good remake of that movie that was with Ralph Fiennes and oh gosh, I can't remember the actress.
Juliette Binoche.
Yes, it was in the 90s. And I
It was.
remember I watched that like 10 times. I love that version of Wuthering Heights.
Yes,
One of my favorites.
it is a good remake. Fiennes is particularly good as Heathcliff.
Yes, he was he's a very good actor. I really do enjoy him.
Yes, well, I did an analysis of both Cathy and Heathcliff as to what
Oh,
they've been. So I did that some time ago. I've analysed certain literary figures. So if people want to go on my YouTube channel and hunt that down, I did Heathcliff, I did Cathy, I did Becky Sharp from Vanity Fair. They're really interesting ones to consider. Yeah.
oh, nice. Yeah, they had a really good Vanity Fair remake they did a couple of years ago. They only did one season. And I was hoping they would do another one of the series Vanity Fair.
Yeah.
My giddy aunt says, how long has, this might be personal, so you can plead the fifth. How long has HD been with his current IPPS, and has she experienced devaluing behavior yet?
I will plead the fifth on that
We're
one.
going to plead the fifth. Okay, no problem. Let's see here. I'm trying to go down to your questions. What is your, oh, that was another one. What is your favorite color?
What is my favorite color? It varies, but at the moment I'd say azure.
Oh, that blue color.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, not black.
No. Okay, what do we have here? Hello, should you
do you want me to read it for you?
Please.
Yes. Okay. Hello, HD. What do you think that the royal family may not fall into their trap and leave them to their own fate, not give either of them any payout? And if so, will she turn violent towards him or leave?
Okay. So if it's the case that there's no payout for her, so she decides, so the scenario for a payout would obviously be divorce. Okay. So that means either Harry precipitates divorce. I think that less likely. I think more likely she will. And I think most likely that the reason that she would precipitate divorce is that he's essentially become no use to her. And in such circumstances, that's why I explained I think that she'd want a payout. So in this scenario, the royal family say, we're not paying you. I think then what she would do is she would still see through the divorce. I don't think she would necessarily turn violent towards him, I think what she would do is basically organize a series of confessionals on television and basically smearing Harry and other members of the royal family with a series of what the press like to call bombshell revelations. And she will basically go off like a loose cannon saying Harry was always on drugs, some of which might be true. A lot of it will be embellished. Harry was abusive towards me. Harry had affairs. Harry was a terrible father, and just smear him and smear other members of the royal family in order to get back at them for not paying her, and also to generate money by saying, I will give you an interview and I will tell you all of this dirt, and look to make millions that way.
Yeah, I think she's going to use his drug use against him. Do you think it could turn into another Johnny Depp, Amber Heard situation with secret recordings?
Undoubtedly, she'll have recorded him, and I think Doria has recorded a lot of the action as well, and that material will be part of bringing up the past. So as and when she needs to assert control over Harry at that particular moment, let's say in 2 years' time in the divorce, her narcissism will go back and pull back something from 4 years ago where she filmed him spliffed out of his mind, lying on a compost heap, having soiled himself.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be an instance where she'll have provoked him, and then there'll be the footage of when he reacts to it, minus her provocation, showing him, foaming at the mouth, throwing around bottles of as ever rosé as he loses his shit, that type of thing. So
Okay.
undoubtedly there'll be footage that exists that she'll use against him.
All right. We have a spicy question.
Oh, right. Okay.
Okay. My mom's listening, but we're going to still talk about it. Mom, mute your phone. Zainab says, question, whips, change, or bondage, which one is your favorite to use?
They mean bondage, or they've written bandage. I'm assuming they mean bondage.
Bondage, yes.
What's the context? I have to ask. Is it?
I'm assuming in the bedroom.
Up for a Saturday night, or
when you're discussing Ugandan affairs and playing naked chess, do you prefer whips, chains, or bondage? And which one is your favorite to use?
It would be bondage.
Bondage. Okay, I have a question for you.
Yes.
When you're spanking a lady, does she have to call you daddy?
She doesn't have to, but many do.
Okay. Okay. I just had to ask.
That's
asking for a friend. Asking for a friend. Okay.
Yeah. You're not fooling anybody, Michelle. We know that.
Come on. I am such a delicate little flower. My mom's listening. I am a good girl. I am such a good girl. Okay. Let's see if we can get some more questions here. Okay, this is a good one. For I Belong to HG says, HG, if you could combine the superpowers of two superheroes for yourself, which ones would you pick?
I think I would go with invisibility and flight.
Now that would be fun.
Yeah, so flight, get to places quickly, which is always advantageous for someone so busy as I. And, well, the things one could get up to through invisibility are numerous, far-reaching and entertaining. So that would be an excellent superpower to have.
Now, tell the truth, HG. If you were invisible, would you be sneaking into ladies' bedrooms to spy on them?
Oh, I can do that anyway without the powers of So no, okay. It would actually come in very useful with regard to certain professional things that I do, so that I could be undetected. It would be hugely advantageous, and it would mean I wouldn't have to buy as much camouflage paint as well. So
okay. I don't know what that name is. I'm just going to say person. What do you think about Tyler Perry situation and alleged private recordings of them he's got?
So I'm assuming that Tyler Perry's got private recordings of Harry and this one's wife.
Right.
I don't know precisely what these recordings are meant to show, whether it's the pair of them dancing together, her twerking, or whether it's them arguing, or whether it's them doing the nasty. It wouldn't surprise me to learn that Tyler Perry would have private recordings of them. The viper's nest, that is those that operate within that particular industry as such, that gathering material on other people for the potential of potentially using against them thereafter is common. And therefore, it wouldn't surprise me if he's got those private recordings. It wouldn't surprise me that at some point he sought to leverage them. Quite what they show is anybody's guess, but we could have quite a lot of fun guessing what it does show.
Awesome. Okay, so Narsite Reader says you carried out an excellent analysis of Brian Koberger, and y'all need to go check it out on his YouTube channel. It's really fascinating, and included his likely reaction to the impact statements. What could a family member have said in an impact statement to hurt Koberger?
I don't think there's anything that you could have actually have said that would have hurt him, because as I explained, and I'm pleased that you enjoyed the analysis and his reaction to the impact statements, as I explained, what was said was essentially noise to him. The upset was irrelevant to him. The pain was irrelevant to him. Naturally, calling him names threatens his need for control. But as you saw, at most, you got a bit more of the sort of his eyes flickering, and that was it. So it created mild irritation. Someone as emotionally detached as he is, who is basically a walking void, you're not going to really hurt him with words. It's actual rejection which is going to cause a greater problem. And if you're doing an impact statement, you're not rejecting him because you're engaging with him, because you're talking to him. So in a way, although I fully understand that those who gave the emotional impact statements, and undoubtedly for them, it will have felt somewhat cathartic. So they will have felt better about what they did. They may well have thought that it got to him. It didn't really. At best, he was mildly irritated. What actually would have hurt him all the more is if all of those individuals had declined to have given any kind of impact statement at all. That would signal by rejection that he doesn't matter. And that would get to him all the more, because he revels in seeing people being at pain. He revels in people being upset. He feeds off it. It reinforces in his mind that he's powerful. And name calling him, he just sits there and thinks that just shows how weak you are. You're not affecting me. Mild irritation at it by saying, you're distinctly average, you're a failure, etc. You're not that bright. By pointing out that you made the mistake of leaving the knife sheath behind. What would have been far more powerful is if they'd all declined to actually give any kind of statement. That level of rejection would have had much greater impact towards him. Although, of course, for them, in typical with many people that are affected by this type of individual's behavior, they want to say their piece, and one can understand why that is.
Right. So when I think it was Kaylee Gonzalez's sister went up and she was calling him a nothing and a loser, that wasn't really affecting him. That was giving him fuel.
Well, he doesn't need fuel because he's not a
Okay.
narcissist. If he was a narcissist, those words would have been challenge fuel. And for a narcissist, that would have got to him more, because how he is seen by the world is important to him if he were a narcissist. So belittling that narcissist by saying you're average, you're a loser, you're dumb as they come, you're slow, you're clumsy, you're dirty. Those things would challenge a narcissist and would have been more likely to prompt some form of reaction from the narcissist and would land some blows. But for him as a psychopath, it's just noise to him. And he, excuse me, just sits there thinking, yeah, I've got to you too. That's how powerful I am. Yeah, you're saying all of that because you're weak. I'm the one that knifed your sister 50 times. I'm the power. That's what had been going through his head. Her words would have just bounced off him.
Right. Okay. Opinion says, why does HD not believe Harry to be a narcissist sociopath, given Harry's behavior even before Meghan?
Quite simply, he doesn't fit the criteria to be described as one.
Okay.
He exhibits emotional empathy. Therefore, that precludes both of those outcomes. Yes, he's an arse. Yes, he's an angry young man. Or, well, was an angry young man. He's now an angry, heading towards middle-aged man. And he can be a complete arse. But he does have emotional empathy. Therefore, that precludes both narcissist and sociopath.
Okay. What is the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath? To me, that's very confusing. Um, I was trying to find some information on that. I
Mm.
find that very confusing, the difference. Are they similar?
Well, with that whole area, you will never get a clinician describing somebody as a sociopath or a psychopath. They will talk about antisocial personality disorder, and psychopathy and sociopath is seen as a further along the branch of antisocial personality disorder behavior. So ASPD and psychopathy are not the same, but there isn't a formal diagnosis of psychopathy or sociopathy. The easiest way to distinguish, as a reminder, is that a psychopath and sociopath are very similar. And as you've put on the screen there, with regard to absence of remorse, there's no emotional empathy. That the fact is that neither forms emotional attachments. And it says about a sociopath may form close attachments to one or fewer individuals. That's not the case. Basically, the distinguishing factor between them is that the sociopath runs hot. So they're more tempestuous, they are more emotional in their responses, and they can exhibit anxiety and fear. Psychopath is colder. The psychopath is far more detached. The psychopath doesn't process anxiety and fear in a similar way. Both are manipulative, both are dishonest, both can be successful, both have an inability to form true emotional attachments, both do experience emotion. I suppose it's right to say that a sociopath feels emotions a bit more than, say, a psychopath does because they run hotter, but that's essentially the distinction.
Do sociopaths form attachments? Are they able to have dating relationships like psychopaths? Like someone like Koberger was not good at relationships at all. He was more of an incel. He was very awkward. He didn't have friends. He didn't get along with his family. He didn't have a good dating life. But someone like you, because you're a hybrid, you're a psychopath and a narcissist, and you're very
Well,
social.
more actually to do with my form of psychopathy and narcissism is such that I'm just more charming than Koberger is. I'm
Right.
better looking than he is,
Right.
and I'm more intelligent than he is, and I'm more socially, I'm more urbane, and my social skills are superior to his. And so both of us are psychopaths, but in the way that many psychopaths end up in prison because they're low functioning. I have a higher executive function, which enables me to pass myself off as more agreeable than, say, he would do. So I'm better at forming the relationships, even though I don't actually attach to anybody. He wasn't as good at forming relationships. So it's like thinking about somebody who's a footballer. We're both footballers. I'm just a better footballer than he is. But we have similar traits. Neither of us have emotional empathy. Neither of us form emotional attachments. Both are manipulative. Both will exhibit grandiosity. But I'm more socially adept than he is. I'm more charismatic than he is. I've got a higher executive function with regard to the way that my psychopathy functions compared to his.
Are there different cadres and schools for psychopaths the way that you have for narcissists?
There are differences. There are. I haven't undertaken a comprehensive categorization of that, primarily because the focus of my work was on narcissism. As I mentioned before, more people are affected by narcissists, so it made sense to focus more on that. At some point, I will provide the categorizations of different psychopaths so that people can understand the differences there also.
Right. Right. To add on to your legacy, what you're planning to do is add more on psychopathy, because you don't tend to warn people about psychopaths. It's to stay away from psychopaths. It's more the narcissist. You find that they're the ones who people are more in danger of, is the narcissist.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. And we'll get into that in probably another video, because I think that's a whole other subject we can get into. Beatrice says, walking down the street, what type of woman would you be more attracted to?
One that has her own teeth is a good start, I suppose.
Okay.
Well, as an elite, I'm drawn by both cerebral factors and also somatic factors. So I am drawn to a woman that is physically attractive. So I don't mean necessarily that she's got two boulders stuck on the front of her chest, but someone that evidently takes care in her appearance. So it's physically attractive, well dressed, smells good, that I can see that there's intelligence in their eyes. So a blonde bimbo isn't going to float my boat with regard to attracting me, with regard to being an intimate partner primary source. You've got to remember that what would I be attracted to in that moment, in that context? So it might be that I would be thinking, well, I just want someone to play with. So I could choose somebody that could be quite dowdy looking and build them up because I want to play with them. But if you were talking about in broad brush strokes, who would I be looking for somebody that I would ensnare as an intimate partner primary source? Then I would be looking with somebody that would accord with the empathic and class and special traits, which I've written about in my book, Sitting Target, and that would accord with the somaticism that I have and the cerebral factors. So somebody that is physically attractive, that looks like they take care of themselves with regard to their physical appearance, both bodily and the clothing that they wear, so that they're well dressed, they're classy in what they wear, that the individual isn't, for instance, festooned with tattoos and lots of jewelry. That doesn't appeal in that regard. And as I say, that I can see that there is an air of intelligence and confidence about them also, the way that they carry themselves. Yeah, those would be some of the factors that I would be attracted to.
Do you tend to have a hair color that you prefer, like a blonde or brunette, redhead, or it doesn't really matter to you?
Doesn't really matter. It alternates.
What about height? Do you like tall girls, short girls, or does it matter?
If one has a preference, it's for tall women.
Tall women. Okay.
Because I'm tall as well, and I don't want to get a crick in my neck bending down to kiss somebody who's really short, unless they carry around an orange box that they're willing to stand on.
Okay. So you don't date women who are 5'2". You only date women who are 6 foot.
I didn't say that. I said it's a preference.
Preference.
So one doesn't exclude somebody just because they're short. For instance, somebody who's short may have other factors which make them particularly appealing. This is why I am what I am, that I'm not sort of so as exclusionary as to cut off my own nose to spite my face. I evaluate. That's what makes me so dangerous.
Well, you like a woman to be the whole picture because you said you are you're cerebral, so the woman has to be intelligent, carry on conversation, have a personality, but then also it has to be very attractive because you want a nice woman on your arm because that's for your facade. That's your reflection of you.
But also someone that's not well groomed and smells and is slobbish disgusts me. So it's not just about what is presented to the outside world, but it's also about what works for me. 5'6" is absolutely fine, average height.
That's my best friend, by the way. You're being cheeky.
All right, okay, Alicia. You're okay with 5'6". The point is, it is looking at everything in the round with regard to what satisfies the prime aims. Certain narcissists do have types, so they will often go for want of a better description, the blonde hard body that's 5'10" and above, because their style of narcissism equates with that being representative of the most appropriate thing for them. I, being more evolved, can see that there's more that can be drawn from an individual just than always being 5'10" with blonde hair.
Right. So to you, appearance is important. Kind of a classy woman like Catherine, the Princess of Wales, a beautiful woman, is classy, kind of like the old luxury type of look. And you have different types of women that you like. Now, I do have a question for you. Hygiene is very important to you. You take 2 baths a day, and I was reading
2 showers a day.
Sorry. I'm a bath girl. 2 showers. Okay, 2 showers a day. So I noticed when you talked about the 3 that got away, you mentioned in your story how you went out in the rain, and you like to go out in the rain. You like the sensation of water on you. You're very, very clean. Wipe your house down with the Clorox wipes. I think that's part of your control. Is it maybe a little bit of OCD? Maybe with the narcissism, or does it help you to keep the control?
I don't think it's anything to do with OCD. I think it's just entirely related to the need for control.
Okay.
And the fact is that by looking after one's hygiene, that has certain advantages. So it makes you more attractive to people. Therefore, it's easier to control people because you look good and you smell good.
Right.
you're likely to remain healthier. I'm all for, don't get me wrong, I don't sort of like go, ooh, mud, and run away. You know, I'll charge through the mud when I'm undertaking an exercise or such like, but then I make sure I'm clean afterwards. And so by being hygienic, that reduces the risk of falling foul of illness and disease, which is
Right.
sensible, because if
Right.
you're ill or incapacitated in some way, that affects the need for control. Having a clean environment, one can triangulate that with, because people are like, gosh, yes, this is a well maintained and beautiful house that's clean, so it's useful for the purpose of triangulation. Also, it's advantageous to triangulate people in a malign way.
Mm-hmm.
So don't put that cup down there without a coaster. You'll leave a ring, and then I could admonish them, or make sure you tidy up after yourself. I
Right.
keep my house tidy, I expect you to do so also. So it can be used in both ways. But it is so it's linked again to usefulness, but it's also linked to my need for control.
Awesome. Yeah, I like a man who's well groomed. Hygiene is also very important to me.
Hmm.
Nothing turns me off than a man who has bad hygiene. It's just a
Yeah.
no-go for me. Now, also the other part of that question I wanted to ask you earlier is you talked about you're out in the rain and you have the water coming down on you and you're very clean. Is it also kind of a self-conscious way of trying to purify yourself in a way with the rain? Is that a subconscious thing that why do you like the water so much?
I just find the sensation something that resonates with me. I don't think it's necessarily so much to do with purification. Of course, in a particular instance, I might describe it as such, because the person that I'm talking to about it, that's how I can see that that would resonate with them. So I say that, oh, I like to be in the rain because it's a purifying experience. And they go, yes, me too. I'm telling them that in order to manipulate them. But if it was just me on my own, the sensation of being in the rain and feeling it touching me is something that stimulates me. Therefore, I like it.
A lady asked, wonder if HG likes younger women. Do you ever date older women, or is it just you prefer younger?
When say younger women, do you mean younger than me?
Yes, I would assume.
Right. Okay. Rather than young women.
Oh,
Um,
yes, yes.
Again, I have had relationships with people younger than me and older than me. So
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You've had an IPPS that was older than you.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Um,
I mean, she wasn't in a wheelchair and using a Zimmer frame, things like that.
okay. Does HD find Harry handsome attractive like for a man?
No, I don't. His eyes are set too close together. He really, really needs to sort his hair out. He also needs to ensure that his beard is better trimmed. And for instance, those ridiculous things that he wears around his wrists, I doubt that they've ever been cleaned as well. So I bet there's a particular funk that comes off Harry. So no, I don't. I'm trying to be objective about him. I don't think that he's objectively handsome.
I think he used to be. Hi, Karen.
Sure.
I think he used to be. Unfortunately, I feel like William is aging better. William has a really nice body. He doesn't have a dad bod. He's sexy. And I don't normally like bald men, but I do find William sexy. I think because he's got a lot of good qualities about him. He's a family man, and he's just definitely coming into his own. He's got that. I was going to say, I'll say big king energy. That's what I was going to
Well,
say.
you ladies are more likely, to get overexcited about William compared to Harry. But it
Yes.
won't surprise you to know that neither of them give me a boner. But I could understand objectively that one would find William to be more attractive than Harry.
Do you find Catherine, the Princess of Wales, attractive?
Yes, I think she's a very elegant and beautiful lady who's very kind. She's not the cleverest individual, but she's no slouch intellectually. I think she's got an excellent sense of humor as well. So I think she's attractive.
What about Meghan Markle? You've mentioned that you've met her on occasion. What
I,
do you think
I
about her?
have, yeah. She's not ugly. She's not aging
Right.
particularly well.
Hmm.
She's nowhere near as clever as she likes to think that she is. She's not someone that would appeal to me because I find her so vacuous that she would annoy me very quickly with her fridge magnet platitudes. I think she's certainly someone, as many men have done before, that particularly when she was younger, given her propensity for letting you do anything, that you would knock her hip out. But beyond that, you wouldn't find much use for her. And again, if it was a straight fight between choosing Catherine or Meghan, it would be, there are far more virtues associated with Catherine. There are some people that find Meghan attractive, horses for courses, but I don't.
So not even for a one-nighter, maybe just a one-nighter, but that would be it. You'd lose interest.
No, I think I am not so desperate as to need to sink to that level for the purposes of satisfying that particular urge. And also the fact that the number of people that have been through her doesn't appeal either, nor does the fact that that Harry's been there as well.
Okay. Somebody wants to know.
The prospect of finding a stray ginger pube isn't appealing.
Okay. Kathy wants to know, what color is your hair, HG?
At this moment in time, it's dirty blonde.
Dirty blonde. Okay.
How I like my women.
Oh, dirty. Oh, okay. Do you like a dirty Snow White? Just asking for a friend.
Okay. A dirty Snow White? That sounds like some kind of deviant sexual behavior.
Okay. The good girl gone naughty. Okay.
Oh, I see. Well, they invariably do when I get hold of them. So, yeah.
Okay. So, do you wear your hair short or is it long?
I wear my hair short.
But you're not bald.
Boys have short hair, girls have long hair.
Oh, okay. But you're not bald.
Good Lord, no. No, okay. I've got a full head of hair. I once wound somebody up by saying I was as bald as a coot. And unfortunately, it once again reinforces the stupidity of some people that they, despite the fact that I've on repeated occasions explained that, yes, I've got hair and yes, it's dirty blonde, although I have dyed it different colors for reasons that I'm not going to go into, but I have got hair. But when I joked once about saying I'm bald as a coot, that person thought it seriously was. But no, I'm not.
Do you have facial hair?
Have I got facial hair?
Yeah.
Not at the moment, but there are times when I will do, because there are occasions where I can't shave.
Oh, okay. Women do like some facial hair sometimes.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a bit of stubble. I never let it get too long. It looks ridiculous, but a bit of growth there. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for you, which I did not ask earlier. When you're doing the whole golden period with your IPPS, you're creating this persona, this Prince Charming, as it were, seducing your Snow White and creating a world of Narnia, right? So do you get yourself kind of lost, even though it's fake? You're creating a fake world, but do you like the romanticism of it? Do you like the fantasy and the facade?
No, I like the control and I like the stimulation. It's a game.
But you don't get yourself lost in the character. You don't get swept up in the golden period. Like, you don't believe it.
I
all the time
see it as a device to get what I need. So I don't become lost in it. No.
Okay. I thought maybe you might enjoy it because you create different characters for different people.
I enjoy playing the different roles. As I say, it's all game playing to me. So I find it stimulating taking on this persona and seeing how somebody reacts to it and pressing the buttons and working out which buttons are to be pressed, etc. But I don't become sort of, slack-jawed gaga over that individual. I know that I'm manipulating them. I know it's all part of because the games are always being played.
Okay. So we talked about your IPPSs, and you said there has been some that have been more beneficial than others. Has there ever been one that you disengaged from and then realized, maybe I should take this one back?
No, I don't go back.
You don't go back, even with a Hoover?
That's different.
So
one can Hoover to draw that person back into the formal relationship. I don't do that, but I've Hoovered many because I did so to control them or to draw fuel from them.
Or because maybe you didn't have an IPPS at the time and you needed to get someone else back to fulfill that?
No, I wouldn't do that. I would either do without one and just utilize intimate partner secondary sources, or I would go and find a new intimate partner primary source. I adopt the nomad approach, which is I'm just move on and move on and move on and move on. I don't ping pong between them or have an anchor.
Okay. What is the longest you've ever gone without a main girlfriend? Not very long, I would assume.
How long? Number of months.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Kathy said, this is the best interview with HD ever on YouTube. Great job. Oh, thank you. Glad you're enjoying it. Okay, let's see. Okay, we'll probably wrap up in a couple of minutes here. So if y'all have any questions, please leave them down below. Have you ever been to Texas, HG?
Have I ever
Visited Texas?
Yes, I have.
Oh, okay. Oh, here's a good one. Did HD ever date a married woman?
Naturally.
Naturally.
Nobody's off limits. Just because they're married to somebody else isn't going to stop me.
Oh, but they would be like a secondary source, obviously.
Correct.
Right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Lisa Sum says, nobody likes to be played with emotionally, but I'm willing to put down my defense mechanism for HD.
Duly noted, Lisa. I'll pop you on the list.
Okay. Somebody also asked, have you ever been sick? Do you get sick?
In terms of have I been unwell? Yes,
Yeah.
from time to time that has happened. As mentioned earlier, my health is very important to me, but there have been occasions where, I'll catch a cold, perhaps. I've not been seriously ill in that respect. I think the worst that I ever had was once when I had pneumonia, which laid me low for a period of time, but wasn't life-threatening or anything like that. So there are occasions where one might get a bit of a cough or get a bit of a cold, but that's the extent of it. I've not had any tropical diseases or sexual diseases or anything like that, and I've not been majorly ill. There are more likely occasions where I've been injured as a consequence of things that I've done.
You broken some bones?
Yes, I've broken both arms. I've broken fingers.
Wow, I've never broken a bone.
Have you not?
Okay. No. And there was supposed to be some weird theory about people who don't break bones, like different life paths or
Really?
I don't remember what it was. Yeah, it was something kind of weird about people who've never broken bones, but I've never, knock on wood, I've never broken a bone. I'm a big baby. I have like a 0 pain tolerance, so I would be a horrific patient. So I think God knows Michelle can't handle it. Literally cannot.
It doesn't hurt for long.
Oh, but I'd be so scared. I'm wearing a cast, and I'm just.
Well,
I'm a hypochondriac.
What's scary about wearing a cast? It's just.
I'm a hypochondriac. I don't like to be sick. I don't like to be sick. So luckily, I'm pretty healthy.
I don't think anybody enjoys it, Michelle.
No, no. But I'm like just not good at it.
Okay.
Okay. I guess I'll say that. Okay. Yeah. Laura Cox says, do you experience infatuation during the golden period? And if so, how does infatuation feel to you?
Well, infatuation is about seeing that person through the lens of them being painted white. So it's that this is this wonderful person and that they are the best thing since sliced bread. And look how beautiful they are. And look how intelligent they are. And they're really interesting and they are stimulating. So there is that infatuation with them. I don't think I experience it in the same way that many narcissists do, where they sort of go gaga-eyed over people, because there is still that innate cynicism. But the infatuation for me is that I'm particularly well disposed towards them.
What do you mean disposed toward them?
Well, the way that I regard them is highly favorably.
Oh, okay. Have you ever liked a woman for a long time before you made your move? Like, have you watched her from afar for years before you made your move?
No. There'd be no point in doing that. That's
okay.
That's the stuff of mentally deranged stalkers or fairy tales. The fact is that you might, if you do view a target from afar beforehand, which does happen, and I've done, you either dispense with the notion of pursuing them or you get on with it. There's no point dilly-dallying with these things.
Okay. Someone asked you, let me ask this question here. Thank you for the super chat. Fan says, questions for HG Tudor. Do you think Megan was entered into this world 2016 present just to let people see what the signs of narcissism is?
She's actually my puppet, and it's a huge psyop that I created, whereby I needed somebody that I could talk about repeatedly in videos to educate the world about narcissism. So I popped over to the United States and I found this woman in this thing called Suits. Nobody had ever heard of it. And I said, look, if I can promise you that I can get you a connection with some dim-witted ginger prince so you can become a princess, but you've got to allow me to talk about you and you'll never try and take my YouTube channel down, are you in? And she said, well, can't I marry you? And I said, no, I'm not interested. And so then she said, yeah, I'm in on it. So that's how it all came about. But do I think that she was there for the purposes of talking about narcissism? Well, no, she's there for the pursuit of her prime aims, isn't she? But she has proven an extremely useful, albeit ultimately boring device. But because so many people are interested in her, it's hugely important to enable people to understand why she does as she does. And notwithstanding the fact that I've made so many videos about her, some parodying her, some predicting what will happen, but all linked to talking about her narcissism, there are still people that don't get it, presumably because they've either not watched more videos or they've not watched enough of them, who still go, why does she do this? Well, the answer is it's her narcissism. And then you can go deeper with regard to my work. But it is interesting to still see people in various discussion groups going, but why does she do this? Why is it that she behaves this way? And the answer is, it is her narcissism. Understand that, and all will be clear.
Right. And Disfan also said, I experienced it with my ex-best friend from 2015, 2017. I'm slowly trying to be myself again. I saw the signs in Harry and in myself. Well, Disfan, I would encourage you, if you need help, to seek out a consultation with HD Tutor. He does help people get over working with narcissists. He does consultations, and he has a lot of information over on his website and in his knowledge vault that you could definitely use to help you get over the pain that you experienced with your friend. So we're really sorry to see that.
I know what Michelle has said.
Yes. So I'm going to share, I'm going to try to share the website so people can go to that. Okay. So HD Tutor, you guys, is being very generous right now. He is offering 50% off the Knowledge Vault using code RDT50. So if you would like to go over and read some of his material, you can do so and get 50% off over the next 3 days. So RDT50, and you can go check out his vast knowledge vault of information and books that he has over on his website. I've gotten several items from his store. So I would take advantage of the discount, go over there and check out everything that he has over on the Knowledge Vault. And he also has a wonderful YouTube channel where he gives out lots of free information. You can check out his website. He has 2 different YouTube channels. Let me see if I can get that up here for you. He has 2 YouTube channels, his main one, Knowing the Narcissist, and he also has a new one on psychopathy, which is very, very interesting. So I'd recommend you guys go over and check out both of his YouTube channels, Narcissism and Psychopathy with HD Tutor. Let's get him up to 10,000 subscribers. He's currently at about 9,000, but he gives out a lot of very insightful information for free. And I'm always over there listening to your videos. Lots of good information.
If I might just add, Michelle,
yes.
In respect of the discount code, as Michelle's mentioned, that's 50% off everything in the Knowledge Vault except audio consultations, detectors, and additional word bundles. So it applies to things like Divorcing the Narcissist, What to Expect, Knowing HG 1 to 7, Zero Impact, as Michelle's putting on the screen, How to Handle a Narcissist at Work, How to Co-Parent with a Narcissist. There's lots of different things in there, but it doesn't apply to the consultations, doesn't apply to the detector, just so you know before. And all you need to do is select the things that you want and put RDT50 in at the checkout, and you'll get a whopping 50% off because I'm so generous.
He is so generous. And I have used it. I bought at least 10 items. Now, I do have a question for you, HG. You do have 2 series that I'm hoping that you will add to it. Into the Woods with HG and Educating HG. You left us on a cliffhanger. Do you plan to add to those 2 series soon?
I'm pleased that you brought those up, Michelle. The short answer is yes, and I have been adding to them. There is a range of books that I have been working on alongside everything else that I have been doing, which means that when you go into the woods with HG, That will be a complete book and audio book. Educating HG, similarly, will be a book and an audio book. There will also be titles about the psychopath. That's a new book that I'm working on. There's one called Total Closure, in respect of how you get total closure from the narcissist, which sets out the framework by which you can do that. There's the narcissist hunting grounds as well. So there's a huge range, and there's 4 or 5 other ones. I won't go through all of the titles, but I've been steadily working on those. So the 2 that you've already mentioned, Michelle, they will be available, and you'll find out what happens. So much to enjoy, much to get your teeth into, alongside not only understanding about narcissism and psychopathy, but understanding more about me.
I'm excited to hear that because I've been waiting for you to update Into the Woods and Educating HG. Teaspoon59 said, HG helped me to understand a lot. He's brilliant at that. I've learned so much about narcissism just from your channel because I didn't know anything about narcissism.
Yeah, it's a hugely important thing because many people who are involved in a narcissistic ensnarement, whether it's intimate, whether it's a case of it being familial, work, etc., it has long-lasting and very serious repercussions on people's lives. But moreover, when you remove yourself from that entanglement and move on, it also provides you with a key for understanding so much more about the world around you. You can look back and think, you know, that difficult client, they may well have been a narcissist. Now I understand why whatever I did wasn't enough. And you understand why that pop star self-imploded and why that president behaves the way he or she does. It really is the key to understanding. Gideon, yes, there will be the follow-up to Narcissist Seduction, Narcissist Ensnared. That's one of the other publications that I've been working on also. I am looking to complete existing works and tie up the loose ends of all of those alongside the things that I've mentioned. So I'm a busy bee.
You must work in your sleep.
Well, I don't do anything in my sleep other than breathe and sleep for a few hours. But yes, I have a prodigious rather work ethic.
You are, I mean, I'm learning from you. I'm definitely trying to take a more, what do you call it, HD approach to working. I definitely need to work on my habits, and I'm listening to Atomic Habits right now. Have a better a better morning routine and a better night routine. I need to get my videos out faster, so I'm definitely working on that. Trish says, "Thanks HG and RDT, brilliant live show."
Glad you enjoyed it, Trish. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Well, you guys, we've taken up enough of HD's time. We're going on 1 hour and 48 minutes. So thank y'all so much for stopping by the channel. And make sure you go check out HD's YouTube channels, Knowing the Narcissist and his other one on psychopathy and narcissism. They're all going to be linked in the chat, as well as take advantage of the 50% off RDT code. That you can go to his website, narsite.com, and take advantage of learning about narcissism, escaping the narcissist. There's a lot of really good information in his website, and I highly, highly recommend that you check it out. Thanks, HD, for joining us, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Absolutely. Look forward to doing so. Thank you for inviting me on. Thank you all for listening and your interesting questions also. It's been a pleasure to be involved.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. See y'all in the next one. Bye.